On February 22, 2026, his 66th birthday, the man formerly known as Prince Andrew was arrested at Aylsham police station. Now stripped of his royal titles and referred to as Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, he faces charges of misconduct in public office. This isn't just a tabloid scandal, it's an unprecedented legal challenge to the British monarchy's traditional shield of immunity. For decades, the Duke of York operated within the inner sanctum of the firms. But a 2019 media disaster and a multi-million-dollar settlement with accuser Virginia Giuffre have led to a total systemic removal. The stakes are no longer just about a reputation. It's about the physical liberty of a king's brother and the legal precedent for royal accountability in the 21st century. The British royal family has long maintained its survival through the model family image, a strategy started in the 1930s to provide national stability. Historically, legal issues were managed through internal exile or suppression, like the 1936 abdication of Edward VIII, whose controversial personal life was largely kept from the British public by a complicit press. However, the 1990s marked a pivot point. The Annus Horribilis of 1992, featuring the Yorks' separation and the leak of compromising photographs, shattered the illusion of the domestic ideal. Unlike the controlled environment of the 20th century, the digital age and the rise of global investigative journalism have stripped away the palace's ability to dictate the narrative. Where previous scandals were treated as private family matters, the current conflict is being settled in the public square and the criminal courts. The downfall of Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor is defined by three critical inflection points. First, the 2019 Newsnight interview, where his defense of his relationship with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein was universally panned, leading to his immediate withdrawal from public duties. Second, the 2022 civil settlement with Virginia Giuffre, which, while not an admission of guilt, required a massive financial payout reportedly assisted by the Queen's private wealth. Third, the 2025 total removal of his military honors, royal patronages, and the use of the title His Royal Highness. Currently, he lives at Royal Lodge as a private citizen, financially dependent on the king's private purse to avoid becoming a liability that could be exploited by others. His status has shifted from an active asset of the state to a person of interest in a criminal investigation into misconduct during his time as a trade envoy. The conflict is now split between two distinct institutional philosophies. On one side, the royal establishment, reportedly led by Prince William, views the total isolation of Andrew as a necessary survival mechanism. Their objective is the preservation of the monarchy. They argue that the institution must prioritize duty over family ties to remain relevant to a public that demands transparency. They view Andrew as a sinking ship that must be cut loose to protect the king and the next generation. Opposing this is the view of legal reformers and victim advocates. Their primary goal is the total removal of sovereign immunity and royal privilege in criminal matters. They argue that financial settlements and the removal of titles are not enough, predicting that anything less than a full criminal trial will leave a permanent stain on the British justice system, suggesting that there remains a two-tier law for the powerful. First, the search of Royal Lodge as a potential crime scene signals that authorities are moving beyond testimony toward physical and digital evidence. Second, the British Parliament is now facing pressure to legislate his removal from the line of succession, a move the Labour government has not ruled out. Finally, the possibility of a trial looms. If convicted, Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor could face a prison sentence served at His Majesty's pleasure, a historic irony where the king would technically oversee the incarceration of his own brother. This case will ultimately define whether the British monarchy can exist as a modern, accountable entity